How can the Israeli government claim they're not committing a genocide when you have Israeli ministers calling for the removal of Palestinians from Gaza so that Israelis can set up there? That is a genocide. Forcefully removing people from their land is genocide.
Two of the Israeli government's senior ministers pushing for the resettlement of Palestinians from Gaza and for Jewish settlers to return to the enclave. Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir became the latest to echo the calls made a day earlier by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich.
We must promote a solution to encourage the emigration of the residents of Gaza.
We must promote a solution to make Palestinians leave, which is what they're doing by bombing Gaza to hell and denying any kind of access of goods or services to the Palestinians, as well as destroying, 80% of their critical infrastructure.
This is a correct, just, moral, and humane solution.
What is humane about committing a genocide against people? There is no humane way to commit a genocide.
Call on the Prime Minister and the new Foreign Minister. This is an opportunity to plan an immigration project.
Again, he's wanting to forcefully remove Palestinians from their land. That is a genocide. You have the Israelis calling for genocide.
The two far-right nationalist politicians live in settlements in the occupied West Bank, considered illegal under international law. Their words have sparked
So you got two ministers that are terrorists living in illegal settlements, yet the Israeli government is not a terrorist government promoting terrorism.
condemnation from Israel's allies, including France and Germany, as well as the EU's foreign policy chief Joseph Borrell, who said there were
I strongly condemn the inflammatory and irresponsible statements by Israeli Minister Ben and I can't pronounce the other dude's name, slandering the Palestinian population of Gaza and calling for a plan for their forced removal. Everybody wants to soften it and claim that they're just gonna ask Palestinians to move, but they're gonna force them out. The forced displacement are strictly prohibited as a grave violation of international human rights laws, and words matter. Yeah, they're talking about forcefully removing Palestinians so that Israelis can live there.
words were inflammatory and irresponsible. Perhaps the strongest criticism of them all came from Israel's closest partner, the US.
We have been clear, consistent, and unequivocal that Gaza is Palestinian land and will remain Palestinian land, with Hamas no longer in control of its future and with no terrorist groups able to threaten Israel.
Israel evacuated.
Well, if you don't want Hamas threatening Israel, Bibi needs to stop funding Hamas through Qatar, which has been happening for a while now. It's so that he can use Hamas as a justification for killing a bunch of Palestinians.
Evacuated around 8,500 people from 21 settlements when it pulled out of Gaza in 2005. Benjamin Netanyahu's government has not suggested it has any plans for voluntary relocation of Gazans or the return of Jewish settlers.
There is no voluntary removal of people from their land. Anytime you make people move from their land, that's forced displacement, not voluntary, and that is a genocide, and it's a war crime to force people to move from their land.
Forcibly removing a population from its land is a violation of human rights under the Geneva Convention. Around 2.4 million people live in Gaza. Around 85% of the population has been internally displaced since Israel's military operation began. Neighbouring Egypt, meanwhile, has been adamant in its refusal to fully